Good evening, boxing fans. It's Harry and I am back for another video on Inside Boxing Brain. I hope you've all had a lovely day. I have literally just finished working now. I have had such a long day. I'm currently working with some customers in America on the East Coast, and their morning is our bedtime and vice versa. So that's why I'm dressed like this, because I was just on a Zoom call. But you're not interested in that. Let's talk some boxing. So today's video is essentially a prediction and a roundup of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I know it's slightly premature. We're about a week away. The fight is on the 8th of October at the O2, live on DAZN. It's going to be streamed globally. There's going to be a final press conference this week. There's going to be the public workouts, and then there'll finally be the weigh-in before the big fight. So this could be a little bit premature, but I don't feel like my prediction is going to change. I've looked at this fight and I've studied the strengths and the weaknesses of each fighter in the build-up and run-up to this fight. So, you know, fingers crossed that does go well. I must add, though, it's been 30 years since their fathers both fought. And for anybody who is a major, Nigel Benn or Chris Eubank Sr. fan, and would want to buy some memorabilia from that night, their last fight, if you click the link in the description of this video and follow it through to the checkout, you can buy some memorabilia and have a piece of history within your own home. So guys, I hope you liked the video today. Do leave me your comments below. I'm going to get into the video now. So the weight of this fight has actually been drafted in at a catch weight. It's at 157 pounds, which is around about 11 stones or 71 kilograms. So Conor Benn is actually coming up from welterweight, and Eubank Jr. is coming down from middleweight, so they're meeting somewhere in the middle. But most of the speculation in the build-up to this fight has been around the fact that people feel, and Eubank Jr. is playing on the fact that him having to boil himself down to that weight is going to mean that he can only come in at 60%. He's not alluding to the fact that he's going to lose. He's saying that 60% is all he needs to be a Conor Benn. But most of the speculation and the hype so far in the build-up has been around this weight clause and this weight contract, because, they've got a rehydration clause within it that states that Eubank Jr. can't go above 10 pounds the day after the weigh-in of the fight, and essentially limiting his opportunities to replenish, rehydrate and energize after the weigh-in. And he hasn't been down at 157 since he was about 18 years old. So it is an unnatural weight for him, even if it's only going to be temporary, and he will be able to rehydrate minimally, post weigh-in. So it is going to be difficult for both fighters, because you got to think about, Conor Benn coming up in weight. It's a weight division that he's never been at before. And middleweight compared to welterweight division is completely different, just in the way the men are built, the bigger, longer, rangier men in general. So it is going to be a challenge for him. Everybody's saying that, oh, he's a natural middleweight, he boils himself down. It's wrong. He is a small welterweight. He's not very tall. Yeah, he's thick set, but he's not a rangy fighter. He's very compact. And he's a very sort of compact power puncher. So the weight is a strength and a weakness for both men. If I had to leverage it on one side, I would say that the weight is going to affect a Eubank Jr. more. And the reason why I would say it's going to affect Eubank Jr. more is because to come down in weight when you are already absolutely shredded and haven't got an ounce of body fat on your body is going to be hard. What you're going to have to do, and what they will be doing in their camp, is he'll be losing muscle off his frame. And when you start losing muscle, and shrinking down a body which is already quite, you know, lean. It's not a healthy way to. It's not a healthy weight to be at. Fat is good on the body. I know it doesn't look great when you want to be shredded. It's not aesthetic, but fat is very healthy and it's important, especially when it comes to absorbing damage. And that's going to be a key component to my, you know, overall reaction of this fight. So, talking about the main strengths and weaknesses of each fighter, if we look at, you know, Eubank Jr. to start with, you have to say that there are some clear strengths that he has got. Starting with the fact that he's an explosive combination puncher. You know, he really lets them power punches rip. I have to say that he has got a great chin. He seems to take damage and absorb punishment very well, and this is from men who are in the middleweight division. And his speed and power in combination with that explosive combination punching has allowed him to actually dispatch quite a few of his opponents and put on fan-friendly fights. He's a very fan-friendly fighter. And Eubank Jr., even though he doesn't get the recognition and really the applause and celebration that his dad got, he is still a very action-filled, fan-friendly fighter. And for that, you have to give him credit. Now, there are some serious limiting factors to his game, and the first is that he has a limited boxing ability. He's not the best amateur boxer in the game. He isn't the best technical boxer in the game. He doesn't have the best skills or fluidity within the ring to make it look classy. But what he does make up for is with his engine. He seems to be able to work at a high pace throughout the fight. It has to be said that, you know, he has very slow feet and a limited ability to learn new skills. Throughout his career, wherever he's been, he's always seemed to be too headstrong to the point where nobody can teach him anything new. Even Roy Jones Jr., who is in his corner, said that he's a very hard-headed, stubborn fighter. And I think that comes down to a lack of care and attention of within his own game. You know, when he's in the ring, you see him showboating, and before the fights, you see him showboating. He's very much into the whole hype and celebrity lifestyle and culture. And sometimes when he's within the ring, you can tell that he isn't fully switched on and focused. So taking that into account, I think that it is a big disadvantage for him within this fight, because I think it means more to him than it does for Conor. And he said things like, if he loses this fight, then that's it. He is going to retire. Guys, again, just a quick reminder, if you want to get any memorabilia from Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr.'s second fight, click the link in the description below. There's some great offers and great products, so if you go to that checkout website, e-commerce website, it is actually Amazon. You can get some limited edition memorabilia from the fight. So let's move on now to Conor Benn, and I really like Conor Benn's trajectory in the game. You know, his come-up has been really remarkable to watch. It was almost 2 years ago, if not maybe a little bit longer, when he was having an interview on IFL, and they asked him, oh, you know, how does it feel to have this fame and this all this buzz around you? And he was very humble, and, you know, he's maintained a lot of that humble attitude. He's very much a fighter's fighter. His key strengths and key routes to victory are the fact that he's an explosive power puncher, just like Eubank Jr., but, you know, he has that one-hit knockout power. Now, it has to be said that, yes, it is at the welterweight division, and that does play a part in this, but in my final prediction, you'll see the points that I touch on, which explain my reasoning behind that. Another great strength of Conor Benn is that he's got great upper body movement. If you look at him when he fights, he's in and out, he's dipping down, he fires shots and then he dips. hooks and then he dips. He rides punches very well. So it's unlikely that he'll ever be in a situation where he gets caught flush with a big punch, because he's always moving his body weight around and connecting in with those power punches. So, you know, I think that is a great way for him to approach this fight, is to keep moving to offset Eubank Jr. And a final strength which I really want to press upon is that Conor Benn is a student of the game. He wants to be taught. He is interested in learning. And, you know, the whole point of this is that at a time where he is, you know, at a crucial point within his career, it's very important that he learns and picks up new skills that allow him to adapt within the fight. And if he does that, it means that he's going to be able to make adaptations within the ring which are going to help him get the victory. Now, it's not all positives for Conor Benn in this fight. There are some clear limitations and weaknesses that he has. And to go through them, fundamentally, the first thing that you'd have to point out is the fact that he's got very limited opponents. If you look at his list of opponents, he doesn't have a long list of, you know, household names or champions or knockout artists or even tough opponents where you could say, you know, they're world class. Chris Algieri was his last opponent, and even Chris Algieri was never known as, you know, one of the best champions in the welterweight division. He was just a temporary belt holder, really. He got knocked out by numerous fighters, and Conor Benn caught him at a stage where he was latter on in his career, and, you know, it maybe looked like he was an old man. Further to this, Conor Benn is also coming up in weight, which means that his stamina and his cardio may be worse. He says he trains for 12 rounds, 3 minutes of every round, but there's nothing like being in the ring with the spotlights on you to test your cardio. When that adrenaline starts to pump, he's going to realise that it's going to be much harder to operate with that extra weight on his frame and his body. And that is going to work against him in the later rounds if the fight goes that far. And another and final weakness that I want to point out in Conor's game is that when he loads up and plants those power punches in, his feet are planted to the ground. Very flat-footed when he lands and puts the punches together. And if he stands in front of a Eubank Jr. with flat feet, Eubank is the type of fighter who will definitely catch him with a combination uppercut left hook and get him out of there, because the moment that, you know, Conor Benn stops moving and taking the sting out of Eubank's punches is the only time and really increases the risk profile of him getting stopped in the fight. So if we were to summarise 3 key components to victory, you'd say power, speed and boxing IQ. I have to say that the power goes probably to Eubank Jr. in this. Yes, he's coming down in weight, but he's the naturally bigger man, so I think he should naturally carry a little bit more power and sting within his punches. Speed, I think it's split. You could argue either way. You could say that, you know, Eubank Jr. is a much quicker combination puncher and he lets them go and he rips them off, but Conor Benn is a single punch, quicker output fighter. That's up for debate as well. But boxing IQ, theoretically, you would think that Eubank Jr. would have a better boxing IQ because he's longer in the tooth and he's been in the game fighting higher caliber fighters. But I am going to go against him here and say that Conor Benn has the better boxing brain in this fight, the better inside boxing brain. And the reason is because he's a student of the game, he's interested in learning, and he talks about fights and fighters that he's studied, and instead of having this I am the best attitude, he has a I need to learn attitude and I have something to prove attitude, and that makes a fighter very dangerous going into a 50-50 pick'em fight where fans and pundits across the world are saying that he's at a disadvantage and he's got a puncher's chance, but that's about it. So Benn can adjust, Eubank Jr. cannot, which leads me on to my final prediction and outcome, which, having thought about it and weighed up the pros and the cons and the strengths and the weaknesses of each fighter, I think that this is going to be another spectacle fight and knockout, as we got with the Joseph Parker-Joe Joyce fight over the weekend, but I'm actually going with the smaller man on this one. I think that Benn is going to stop Eubank Jr. either with a technical knockout or a actual brutal knockout within 3 to 5 rounds. This fight is not going long. Conor is going to come and empty the tank as soon as possible, because carrying that extra weight, his cardiovascular system is going to start feeling the strain, and knowing the fact that Eubank Jr. is drained and he isn't coming in 100%, it's only 60, he's going to need to take advantage of it and get him out of there. So my official prediction is a knockout or stoppage within 3 to 5 rounds for Conor Benn. I'm so excited to see this fight, and guys, I just want to thank everybody who is watching these videos and subscribing to my channel and commenting. Like, wow, we hit a milestone the other day, 10,000 views, and you know, it's just incredible. I can't believe me in this small little channel who just enjoys boxing from a fan's perspective is able to engage with, you know, so many people. And you know, I'm just really happy that you guys are interested in watching me and speaking to me, so thank you very much. A final reminder, there is a link in the description below. It's been almost 30 years since, you know, these two men's fathers fought, and it was a historic landmark fight. So if you want to get some limited edition memorabilia from that night, click the link in the description below and follow it to the checkout page. I'm so excited to see this fight. We're about a week off now. I'm really interested. I wonder what's going to happen. I might jump on this week a couple of times and just do an update in terms of press conference or post weigh-in, but my official prediction, as I've just mentioned, is a Conor Benn TKO victory within 3 to 5 rounds. Guys, it's Inside Boxing Brain. Drop this page a subscribe and drop a comment below. I've really enjoyed making this video, and I will be back very soon for another one. Boom.